It's spring training, which means it is time for more baseball. It's time for sitting in the sun. It's time for seeing who's in the best shape of their life. Also, coincidentally, time to see who has been taking their PEDs because Parker, it looks like Jurickson Profar again got busted for using PEDs, or at least tested positive for using PEDs. What? Come on, Jurickson. Like, really, Parker? What are we doing here?
Yeah. First of all, everybody like the video, subscribe, comment down below if you've ever taken PEDs before and what your experience was on them.
Don't do that. I mean, if you want to, you do your
I'm not
thing,
saying
but I
take
don't
them,
recommend
but
it.
if you've done it, then I'd like to know about it. Do you hit bombs? Yeah. Anyway, so Jeff Passan just tweeted 3 minutes ago at the time of recording. It is now official, with MLB announcing that Jurickson Profar tested positive for exogenous testosterone. His 162-game suspension begins Friday. Profar can still appeal the suspension. The last time a PED suspension was overturned via grievance was more than a decade ago. I would assume he would appeal the suspension because that's kind of just how all these things go. I would be very surprised if it gets reduced down from 162 because of how many different levels of precedent there are to this. But yeah, Jurickson Profar, it's not like you didn't know, first of all, that injecting yourself with testosterone was illegal, because you did know that. And then also, it's not like you didn't know you weren't going to get tested. The way that these sports work is that once you're an offender, you're treated as a repeat offender for the rest, basically, of your career.
Yeah.
And once you have a substance abuse policy violation, you are considered highly testable. Like, you'll just randomly get them every few days sometimes. And so Profar knew this was going to happen. He knew what he was doing. I'd imagine he's trying to put some weight on in the offseason or something like that, but I'm just extrapolating on information it isn't complete. It's just super, super disappointing, because this guy went from like the Little League World Series feel good story to like top prospect in baseball to now twice. Then this is all Justin Havens, who's also a friend of the show, tweeted this: Little League World Series, top prospect in baseball, 2-time PED offender.
Ah, that's crazy. You said it was some of the things these guys take, man, is so above my pay grade. You said something like extra genius to what is a very smart testosterone. What do we know what this is? What is this stuff?
So I'm just gonna Google it, so I'm not talking out of my butt. But if it's what I think it is,
because the way that what I think it may be is, I know there was something where last time he tested for this and got the half a season ban, it was something he took like as almost like a fertility drug or something like that, is what the claim was.
Extragenous testosterone, that's okay. That's what I thought. Extragenous testosterone, extragenous just means from an outside source.
Oh, okay.
It is just
So it's
from an outside source. So they have confirmed that this was, supplementary, and because some people have very high testosterone levels. In fact, I'm a big fan of like the CrossFit community, and there have been people who have gone through a lot of like rigmarole because they have naturally high testosterone, especially some of the female competitors who, are absolutely jacked and in incredible shape. And that's just how the human body a lot of times will respond to being in that kind of shape and under that training load. High testosterone levels in general can pop you for PEDs. Now, sometimes you just produce a bunch of testosterone. Professional athletes especially are susceptible to stuff like this. So the fact that they specify extragenous testosterone basically just means that they've done their homework and they've confirmed that this is something that was supplementary to what his body naturally produces.
Now, this is something that obviously we're not back in the 90s, early thousands, where this was a huge issue. Like, obviously we're not in that era. However, there have been cases where these one-offs have happened. So you go back to guys like Jose Alvarado, who was suspended 80 games in May of last year for a PED. You go back to even, I think the more recent one was Max Kepler in January, right? This past January. He received a suspension, as well as some minor league prospects, right? And Noel Marte, Orelvis Martinez. Like, this is not an isolated case. So, like, what the hell is it, Parker? Is it just like these guys trusting their trainers? Is it just like, oops, I took this and I didn't know it would register on a test? Like, MLB, from what I understand, makes it pretty clear. So,
When I was 17 years old, I worked at a car wash. I worked at a Kohler Auto Bell Car Wash. It's kind of popular throughout the South. And every single time we would have a shift meeting, they would remind us of the social media policy. And the social media policy with Auto Bell was you cannot defame or put yourself in any sort of negative light and associate yourself with Auto Bell on social media. And at one point, I tweeted that I had just finished a shift at Auto Bell and then thought nothing of it. And about 3 days later, when I showed up for my next shift, my manager brought me into the office and he fired me because I was in violation of the social media policy because I had tweeted the word fuck at some point in the past. And then I had aligned myself with Auto Bell on social media. So I tell that story to say I was told so many times. I had just fired off the tweet without thinking. And I have no doubt that the training staff, for a guy, a veteran like Profar, the training staff of every single big league team that he has been a part of has certainly told him, just let us know whenever you take anything. Let us know whatever you put in your body. Let us know what you're doing. We will run it through our screening process and make sure that you're not putting yourself in any sort of danger, especially a guy who gets a contract after serving a PED suspension. So I have absolutely zero care or understanding for a guy who decides that he's going to do this. And you ask why. I think that the reason why that these guys repeatedly, we have these repeat offenders, we have these offenders, period, is because of how much money they stand to make simply by performing better. Especially a guy with like Jurickson Profar. It's the difference between a 2-year, $8 million deal and a 3-year, $20 million deal if he has a really good season this upcoming year. So there's so much money to be made.
There's so much money to be made, but geez, I mean, you a guy like Profar to go through a second offense, I mean, you've turned your 1-year deal to a 2-year or 2-year deal into a no-year deal, right? I mean, like
Right.
that. Now you're not even playing 162. You don't get paid, and you're not postseason eligible, playoff eligible. So,
Yep.
I mean, it just seems to me that there's so much more to lose than the gain, which is why the MLB put these punishments in play. I'm with you. I don't really think there's an excuse for it. Like there's no reason in my mind why you wouldn't be more safe than sorry. Like even if it was a mistake, like let's just assume the players that experience this now, it is an honest mistake. It's still on you to be more careful. It's still on you to talk and have open conversations with your training staff and all the training staffs they have outside of Major League Baseball. Because don't forget, folks, they also get this nutritional training guidance from folks outside of the game, outside of their respective teams. You still, as the athlete, have to hold yourself to that high standard, even with people outside of your organization. And I don't know that it's always happening, as evidenced by what we're seeing here.
Yeah, so my brother was a member of an NCAA football organization, and throughout that time, they were so strict about all of the performance-enhancing drug policies and also gambling policies, and how they weren't even allowed to
Yeah.
have an account in their name and things like that. So whenever we see stuff like this, first of all, this is a amateur Division III football program that doesn't even have millions of dollars invested into these players. We're talking about professional athletes with millions of dollars invested in them. I have no doubt the organization is abundantly clear on what they are allowed to do and what not to do. And we've seen so many examples of players being held accountable, of arguably like people forget Alex Rodriguez was like basically the Mike Trout of his generation. And people were like, this is going to be the greatest baseball player of all time when all's said and done. He was made an example of. He did not get
Yeah.
any sort of special treatment. The guy missed 2 entire seasons. Robinson Cano. Like, we've seen repeat offenders again and again and again. And this is just, it feels like there's the type of person that wants to, like, it feels like there's the type of person that wants to take PEDs to try to make more money. And then that person might also be the kind of person that is willing to do it again and again to see if they can get away with it.
It's something that always kind of didn't make sense in my brain when it came to the PED thing. Is like, say, obviously we don't know anything about the Jurickson Profar situation, right? Let's not talk like we know about it, but let's pretend that he did do something to increase performance. Jurickson Profar obviously has been struggling the last couple seasons. Sure, whatever. it still doesn't equate in my brain that if you take any sort of PEDs that it's actually enhancing your performance. Like I still don't buy that in baseball, right? Like because you can put on muscle mass, you can improve testosterone. At the end of the day, you have to have the bat make contact with the ball. Like am I oversimplifying this? Like to me, it doesn't really enhance your performance. Like I just don't understand the appeal.
I think you're oversimplifying it a little bit, but not a lot of it. I've
Okay.
always been somebody to be like, you can't PED Barry Bonds' swing into somebody. You know, you
Yeah,
can't
sure.
PED his eye. I think that these guys are already professional athletes. Let me tell you what, we hear about guys like Jurickson Profar. We hear about guys in the minor leagues and stuff like that. There are plenty of people not getting caught. And I would be very surprised if most of them are not fringe level big leaguers, guys who are
Yeah.
just trying to make it up so that they can make league minimum for a couple years. Because that in itself is maybe not life changing money, but $500,000 for most people is life
Yeah.
changing money. Like it's
Yes.
not my second and third generation after me changing money, but it's certainly my life changing money. Um,
Hmm.
and that's league minimum at the big league. So if you can stick around for 2, 3 years, sign yourself a 7-figure deal once or twice, you're now talking about a significant, you know, upgrade to your lifestyle. And I always remember one of the names that really stuck out to me, like during the Mitchell report. Of course, it was Roger Clemens, who was my favorite player of all time. Of course, there were guys like, Manny Ramirez and Barry Bonds and all this stuff. The name that always struck me was a small time Blue Jays catcher. I don't know if you remember him, by the name of Greg Zahn. And like
Yes.
Greg Zahn was a below replacement level player. I'll pull up his numbers right now. And you know what? He was popped for apparently pretty heavy use of PEDs. And to me, that is so evident of like that guy really, really wanted to be a big leaguer. And it changed his life. Okay, career 14 WAR player. I'm really not really giving him, much credit here. He played 1,200 games at the big league level and he had a 92 WRC plus, so below average hitter, but probably a
Sure.
pretty good catcher.
Yeah.
And like that guy was probably a big leaguer because of the PEDs.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of guy that sticks out to me and where I think most of this type of stuff lies.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. We've seen a couple cases just here in the last 6 to 8 months, so we'll kind of see where it goes from here. But I don't think baseball will. I think the early 2000s have really always kept this in the front of our mind. It's never going to fully escape, or baseball's never going
Yep.
to fully escape the PED headlines for sure. But when you're when you are a repeat offender like Profar, it's kind of impossible to ignore.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, this is going to be tough for him to deal with. It's going to be tough for who's he with these days? Braves? He's with the Braves, right?
Braves.
Yeah. So it's going to be tough for Braves fans. He's the kind of guy who makes a difference when he's in the lineup. So it does suck to see. But and you know what? One thing before we get out of here, I am always been. I mean, I don't know about always because when I was 12, I certainly didn't feel this way. But as I've gotten older, I've become more okay with letting the steroid era guys into the Hall of Fame. I'm
Yeah.
a guy who wants Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame and things like that. I don't think that this is comparable in any sense of the word. I think right now is very clear what the drug policy in MLB is, and back
Yes.
then
Yeah.
is a completely different story where the MLB wasn't even testing. So get out of here with that. I know that's going to be in the comments.
Hey, well, you know what else should be in the comments? Let us know if you take PEDs. Just kidding. Don't do that. But do let us know if the MLB, their current rules are enough to continue to deter people from taking PEDs. Okay. Catch you later here on Rally Cap.